Okay, and hello, good morning. How's everybody doing? Can you guys hear me? Do I have a thumbs up? Thanks, Ash. That's awesome. That is great. Welcome to week 4, and we're starting to get into the thick of things, as they say. Today we start our first organ system. Apparently I need another sip of coffee and get my brain going here. Today we're doing our first organ system, the integumentary, okay, aka the skin. And we'll move on from there. Next week is bones, and then muscle, and then we start getting into the good stuff. So we're right on track. The quiz 1 results were great. Okay, you guys have shown me there that you are extremely capable. The class average, if I can just figure out calculator here, about 86%. So you guys are excellent. All right. So you saw the format of the test. You know, will it always be like that? No, because as we progress throughout the course, there the tests will become more constrained, and it's a gradual process. So you can expect quiz 2 to simulate quiz 1. All right. Because learning how to take a test is its own thing. So you guys did great on the quiz 1. Okay. Just keep on going. Later there this week, maybe tomorrow, maybe the next day, maybe Friday, I'll see how it all goes there. I will release your assignment, okay? And that won't be due, I think that's due week 8. So we have week 4, 5, 6, 7, reading week, and then we have week 8. So you have like about 5.5 weeks to do this. And I'm going to give you guys, I'm thinking there, medical terminology first, okay? So that I'm going to give you like 100 or so medical definitions, and you're going to have to match them up, find the definitions there. And they're all relevant to where you guys are going to go. So I'll let you guys know about that later there this week. That's due week 8. Your second assignment, which will get released week 8, will be on the nervous system, and that so your assignment 2, that'll be on the nervous system, and then I'll test you on that. I think it's our last quiz there, quiz 6, but we have time for that. You guys have done great. Congratulations on the quiz. That's what you need to do. You can see there the quiz wasn't very easy. It's not really a quiz, is it? It's more of a smackdown. And I apologize for that, but that is the nature of the beast right now. That is where we are going. And I talk about you guys going on and doing nursing after this. Go on, become a nurse practitioner, become your own business. But that is where we're going as far as anatomy and physiology goes, okay? So, if you guys have any questions, you know what I mean, let me know. I've received emails from you guys, and just keep them coming. If you have any questions at all, I think you guys are doing great. Whatever you're doing, don't change a thing, okay? Great class average, 86%. Keep on rocking it, okay? So to no further ado, okay, nothing has changed. I'm still recording this, and I'll post this video thereafter, but let's get going, shall we? All right, very good. Now where is the sharing? What, did they change things here? Layout, chat, mute, share screen. Oh well, I'll just do that. There we go. No, I can't. Why did they change things? Where's my share screen? Oh. Over here. No, I don't want to do that. Sorry, am I not seeing share? They've changed things here. Where's my share screen? Chat. I want that. Show menu. Oh, yeah, there it is. Thank you. Thanks, WebEx. There it is. That's what I want. Okay, there we go. All right. So, I can't see if you guys have any questions, so shout out if need be. There I am in the corner. All right, and there's Ash as well. All right, let's go, shall we? Today, their integumentary system, the skin, okay, and we'll also deal with body temperature as well, and some other physiological aspects there that the integumentary skin system does. Now, one of the general, you know, it's not an official rule, but, you know, one of the, when you're talking about an organ system, you know, it has more than one function, okay, and you'll see there that the skin, okay, it's one of those organ systems that isn't, you know, a priority, all right, but it absolutely is. That's why there are burn units at every single hospital. You know, the whole idea there of keeping out microbials, okay, bacteria, fungi, viruses, this is all up to the skin. It's what we call a primary defense system. It doesn't discriminate against bacteria, fungi, or virus. It keeps them all out, okay? And if the integrity of the system or the skin has been broken or breached, therefore now, you know, the whole idea, the microbes can get in, all right? Vitamin D is another aspect to the skin, but we'll get into all these there as we go, okay? So, we'll list the functions of the skin, describe the structure, okay? There are two layers, but there's actually three: the epidermis, the dermis, and what we call the hypodermis, which isn't actually part of the skin, but we throw it in there anyway, okay? Also known as the subcutaneous layer, okay? If you ever get an injection, the nurse will say this injection there needs to be sub-Q, okay? Subcutaneous. So underneath the epidermis, underneath the dermis, and into this subcutaneous layer. We'll look at the different layers of the epidermis, some of which include the stratum corneum. We'll get into all these ones here. List the factors that influence the color of skin. Describe the accessory glands, skin, hair, nails. Okay. We'll talk about thermoregulation. Yeah, we'll talk about lots of stuff here. It's a really good PowerPoint. And a nice springboard to the other organ systems. Okay. So today's class there's only the one PowerPoint, so we're not going to take a break in between. I'm just going to go right through. But for goodness sakes, if you gotta go, if you got a jet, you gotta, you know, if you're watching this video after the fact, then do it, okay? Self-study learning, this is the nature, and I think you guys are doing great. Your test results, outstanding, people, outstanding. All right, let's go. Functions of the skin. Serves as a mechanical barrier, okay? Absolutely. The whole idea there that our arms and legs are out there in the world more so than our torso. And you have to think, why do we have nails? Well, it's our armor, because our toes get stubbed, our fingers get banged, we hit them with hammers, these kinds of things. And yeah, absolutely a mechanical barrier. Protects and holds in the internal structures, okay? Participates in the immune response. Absolutely. If that skin has been breached, the body will know about it, and the immune response there, which we'll get into, okay, at a later date when we get into blood and those kinds of things there. Vitamin D synthesis, you need about 20 minutes a day out in the sun, okay. Excretion, you would think there that the skin, okay, is a way of getting rid of toxins. Most certainly it is. Okay, we'll talk more about that. Sensory role. Interesting. These are our hands, and I know you can't see it, but you can kind of hear it. I'm touching the table, right? I can feel the table, but you don't have any nerves on the outside of your skin. So what is it you're actually feeling? You're perceiving touch, because there's no nerves there. Okay, nerves are underneath, inside, right? We'll get more into that. Absolutely, body temperature regulation. So, through today's class and throughout all of the rest of the classes there of this course, we are going to be dealing with epithelial cells. Okay, and these are just some of them. There's more. Okay, but it's just a matter of classifying these epithelial cells. Now, these epithelial cells, they line the lungs, okay, the digestive tract, and what is common between them all is that they have this basement protein, okay, this membrane. They all have it. Because if you think they're like an intestinal, you know, the intestine, right? Like, what is that? There's actually a medical term for that hole. You know, like in a capillary or an artery or your esophagus, okay? Your stomach, your small intestine, there's this hole. It's called a lumen, L-U-M-E-N, okay? So you eat some food, right? It goes down your esophagus, through your stomach, and then now it's into your small intestine. And that food is traveling through the lumen. And now you see the walls of the lumen. That's where the absorbing of the nutrients happens, right? And that's what these epithelial cells do. Okay, you can see there that I'm just gonna before I go into the terminology there, you see they all have this basement membrane. That is where the lining of the the lumen is. All right, and whatever is inside the lumen gets absorbed, okay, through these guys, and then down to capillaries there later on. Okay, and capillaries, blood vessels there, it takes the nutrients and dumps it back into the blood. Or dumps it to the blood, not back into, because it's never been in, right? So that's, and I'm not going to go too crazy into this right now, but you will see that we will talk about epithelial cells throughout the entire course, because that's what our body does. It absorbs, it uptakes, oxygen, the whole idea. These epithelial cells there within the lungs there, oxygen transverses through them and goes into the blood. CO2 goes the other way, and then out into the air, right? Nutrients gets absorbed, all these kinds of things, right? So we'll get there. There are what we call squamous epithelial cells. These ones here are kind of flattened, as you can see, all right? And there's two ways to describe them. There's simple squamous epithelial, and that's how you say it. Simple squamous epithelial cells. It's just these particular flattened cells, one layer of them. You can also have stratified squamous epithelial. This is more characteristic there of the skin, okay, epidermis there. And you'll see there that these cells here are newly created. And as new cells come up underneath them, these cells get pushed up. And you'll see, but everything is fed through this basement membrane. Okay, you can have cuboidal. So simple cuboidal epithelia. These ones here are square. Okay, stratified cuboidal epithelial. These ones here, there are layers of them. Okay, and they're found all over the body. And the reason why is that when we get into reproduction, we get into digestion, respiration, you will hear these words terminology again. Okay. Then you have simple columnar epithelial, and you'll see what's going on here. Okay, they all touch the basement there when you're talking a simple categorization here, one line. When you get stratified there, the second and above layers are not touching that basement membrane. Okay, then you've got a strange one here. Okay, these ones here are what we call pseudo-stratified epithelial, and they kind of look like they're like you're kind of in the mosh pit at a Green Day concert, okay? But even though they're all over each other. Okay, they all touch that basement membrane. Okay, so there's other epithelial cells, like in the bladder. There's transitional epithelial. Okay, where these cells here, they have the ability there to stretch, as the bladder does as it fills up with urine, and after it reaches a certain point, makes a phone call up there to the brain. Hey, get this person there looking for a toilet, right? That's what they do, right? So, okay, moving on. Moving on up. Skin has 3 main layers. It has 2, but we throw the third one in there just because where else are you going to put it? In digestion? No, it's got to go here. So the skin has 3 main layers. There's the epidermis, which is the outer layer. It's what you're feeling now. Okay, it's that dry skin on the outside that we feel. Thin outer layer of stratified squamous epithelial cells. Right off the bat, eh? Dermis. This is the underlying, right underneath the epidermis there. It tends to be thicker. Okay, inner layer of connective tissue. This is where the living stuff happens. In the epidermis, it's basically dead. We'll talk more about that there in a bit there. But the dermis, underlying, there are your blood vessels, smooth muscle, okay, nervous tissue, okay. Basement membrane separates the epidermis from the dermis and anchors these layers together. Oh yeah, it's all about anchoring. It's all about surface area, right? The whole idea of throwing your arms and legs around there, well, why doesn't your skin fall off and go and hit the wall? Ugh. All right, but it doesn't because it's all anchored there, and we'll talk more about that. The sub-Q layer, also called the hypodermis. Hypothermia, right? It means lower. Hyper means higher. So this is the layer underneath the dermis, consisting of areolar tissue and adipose tissue. Okay, there's your fat. Okay. Binds the skin to the underlying tissue, but isn't really a part of the skin. Okay, adipose tissue insulates to conserve body heat. Contains major blood vessels. Dermis here, small little itty bitty blood vessels. And when we get into the sub-Q layer, that's where you get the major blood vessels there. Okay, and this is where the if you get an injection, this is where you get it. Okay. Just some shots here. Okay, there's your epidermis there, and you can zoom in and see them there. Okay, and there's this basement, which we'll zoom into there. Then you have the dermis. Okay, this is all living. Okay, and you see your hair follicle. Your hair goes all the way through the epidermis down into the dermis. Actually touches there the hypo. Okay. Is hair alive? Absolutely. And you'll see there that skin, hair, and nails, it's kind of all the same thing. They all originate from a basement membrane, and then new cells come out. And as new cells come out, okay, new cells are produced, these cells get pushed up, and they eventually, what we call keratinize, become hard, die. And that's what we feel. These are our nails, our skin, our hair. That's why we can cut our hair and it doesn't hurt. But if you wax and pull this hair out, what you're doing is you're basically causing, thousands of nuclear bombs to go off in your epidermis. And I'll tell you there that it can be quite traumatizing. We'll get into that. There's your subcutaneous layer, your hypodermis down in the lower region. Okay, let's move, shall we? Hey, what's going on here? Okay, so just kind of an overall shot here of what's going on. There's your epidermis. Just zooming in. Boy, I'm just getting in the way here, aren't I? There we go. Epidermis. Okay, and we'll get into all these different layers. Okay, there are a number of layers that are involved, but you see there that there's the basement where the newly created cells of the epidermis form, and as new ones are made, these ones here get pushed up, and you can see there how they start to flatten. Ooh, which kind of cell is that flattened? What was the name of that one again? And then they eventually keratinize and die. Okay. And yeah, the whole idea there that I think I've read that somewhere between 40 and 80% of all the dust you sweep up off the floor and put into the bin, dead skin cells. The whole idea there that you buy a brand new mattress, okay, you buy a new mattress there, and you carry it upstairs to bed there. It's quite floppy, but it weighs somewhere between 40 and 50, 60 pounds, somewhere in there, hopefully. You sleep on that mattress for 20 years. Now that mattress weighs about 200 pounds. Dead skin cells. Yeah. Hope you already had your breakfast. Yeah, there'll be some gross things here. You'll see what's going on in here. Now we're into the dermis. There's a lot more stuff going on. You'll see that there are your nerve endings. Your nerve doesn't even make it to the epidermis. So what is it you're actually feeling? You're feeling pressure. You're not actually feeling anything. And you can see there sweat glands. You've got the erectae pillae muscle. Every single hair has an erectae pillae muscle attached to it. Okay, especially on the skin. The whole idea of goosebumps. That's a good one to know. I usually throw that on a test. Okay, there's your hair follicle, and there's your blood supply. Absolutely alive. But again, the same process happens. As new hair is produced, this hair becomes keratinized and dies, just like the skin. Okay. There's a pressure receptor there, nerve endings in and around the hair follicle, sebaceous glands there that keep the hair all nicely oiled and shiny, touch receptors there, lots going on. And then you have there the sub-Q layer, the hypodermis, okay, major blood vessels, as we said, okay, that are supplying everything up into the dermis and epidermis, and you can see there the adipose tissue, okay. And you can kind of relate this there to first, second, third, fourth degree burns, which we'll get into. Okay, I've updated this PowerPoint there from previous years there, and I've added some extra stuff there, and it's pretty good. We'll get into Langer lines and all these there later on. Okay, so that is where we are at. Characteristics of the epidermis. If you didn't know, you know now. There is thin and thick skin, okay, made up of stratified squamous epithelial, okay, lacks blood vessels. There really isn't much going on in the epidermis other than dead skin, and that's the whole point. These squamous epithelial cells, they rise up and rise up, they become keratinized, they die, and basically we have a waterproof covering. Is it waterproof? No. We'll get into the whole idea there that know that whatever you put on your skin, you have to understand that it will be in your blood supply within minutes. The skin is very absorbable. Okay, deodorants, and you look at antiperspirants there, you don't want to be using antiperspirants, those white, chalky ones there. They have aluminum, and please consult your physician before doing anything this silly instructor says, but you want to be careful of aluminum. There are associations there between aluminum and Alzheimer's. So aluminum cookware, these kinds of things, you just want to, there's something there. So the entire body has 4 layers of skin. Okay, and this is what we constitute as thin. Hair grows out of it, and depending upon where it is, there'll be more hair growing out of it, right? But the only on the palms of the hands and soles of the feet do you get a 5th layer. Okay, and surprisingly, it's quite weird when you see how thin it is. There's really not much of a layer, but it prevents hair from growing on these areas here. Okay, thicker layer, but we'll get into these there in a little bit. So only found on the palms of the hands and soles of the feet. So the epidermis here, okay, there's your 5 layers. For thin skin, there'll be 4 denoted in black, and that 5th layer denoted in red, that constitutes the thick skin. Okay, so the underlying 4 layers of the epidermis are found in all areas of the body. In red there's your 5th layer. The epidermis is important because it protects against water loss, mechanical injury, chemicals, and microbials. And you'll see here, and there's the underlying dermis, okay, and You have melanocytes that, what would these guys produce? Melanin? We'll get there. Then there's your basement, what we call the stratum basale. These are where these new cells are being formed. Okay? And then new cells are created underneath them. These guys here get pushed up into what we call the stratum spinosum. Okay? And still moving on up there, we have the stratum granulosum. And you'll see here something's going on. What's going on there? And then only on the palms of the hands, soles of the feet, will you find this thin layer called stratum lucidum. Okay? And it's not a very thick layer at all, but it prevents hair from growing on our hands and feet there. Okay? And then the outer layer, okay, what we feel is called the stratum corneum. All right? And these guys here are dead, basically just a corn husk. Nothing there at all. They're dead. It's just a mechanical barrier to protect us there from the bugs from outside. And yeah, just basically showing you there. There's your melanocytes there. Merkel cells, okay, is involved in sensory, okay, and you'll see there that we start to introduce their keratinocytes, okay, and different things happen. So we'll get into these there as we go. Here is a cartoon caricature of what is, there's your hypodermis, there's your dermis, there's your epidermis there, okay, and then the top layer. And I always like to show an electron micrograph of what's going on because it's quite different, okay, like being able to identify cells like real cells under a microscope. It's a lot harder than looking at them on a slide that have, lines pointing to their names. So if you can somehow take a minute or two and just kind of transverse between these two, okay. So there's your basement membrane, okay. And when we're talking the epidermis, and you'll see how that goes on, okay. And these cells there that are alive, they migrate up, and then they become keratinized and die. And then here's your outer layer of skin, okay? These ones here, interesting, very interesting. This is your dermis. Underneath there is your hypodermis. But you'll see there the dermis, when it's in contact with the epidermis, it's not like just a flat area because it's not enough surface area, okay? Because the dermis has got to hold the epidermis on so your skin doesn't fly off and hit the wall. So what the body does, the body is a marvel at creating surface area where there is none, okay? And you'll see there that these are what we call dermal papillae. And it's all just a matter of trying to hold that epidermis and make it, cling to the dermis. And in the meantime, though, all these different, you see, it's a very irregular pattern, these dermal papillae, okay? And it actually what constitutes our fingerprints. Okay, our fingerprints are all different because of these dermal papillae underneath. Okay, and interesting stuff. So getting into it right here, we have the stratum basale, which is at the bottom. Okay, also called the germanovatum or the germinal layer. Okay, it's the deepest layer, single layer of cuboidal dividing cells. It is well nourished by the dermal blood underneath, okay? Connects the epidermis to the dermis via intertwining collagen fibers, okay? Dermal papillae are these finger-like projections there that come up from the dermis into the basal to make stronger connections between the dermis and the epidermis, okay? There's also Meissner corpuscles in there. It's all about nerve-like touch. As the basal cells continually divide through mitosis, the whole idea, how our body grows, one cell divides, okay, and replicates into two exact copies. That's how our cells reproduce and we grow as people or creatures, okay? So as the basal cells continually divide, all keratinocytes, which are made of keratin, are made. Keratin, it's all a matter of hardening, right? Our nails, our skin, our hair, where they migrate and push up towards the skin surface. As these keratinocytes migrate outward, they harden, dehydrate, and die in a process there called keratinization. Okay. So these Merkel cells right in here, you can see, you know, they're into there's the dermis, and here's the beginning of the epidermis. Okay, the outside layer. These Merkel cells there, they're receptors responsible for stimulating sensory nerves that the brain perceives as touch. Abundant on the hand and feet, and you'll see their melanocytes there. They produce pigment, which gives skin and hair their predictable color. Okay, helps protect melanin there in the living cells of the epidermis from UV radiation. All people have the same number of melanocytes about. Okay, so there, the whole idea that melanin, okay, protects us there from the sun, that UV radiation, even on a cloudy day, we can get a burn. So just something there to take notice. And you think there, the whole idea of cancer, okay, remember we going into that mitosis where you have, you know, an older cell that doubles, the DNA doubles, and we produce two daughter cells, right? The whole idea there that cancer is when there's an improper divide, when these cells are dividing out of control. And, you know, through normal mitosis, you have one cell divides into two exact perfecto copies of that original, right? Well, cancer is when you have the original and you end up with, you know, two new cells that are now, and then these guys here will divide, and these guys here will divide, and everything will divide, and all of a sudden you've got these cells that aren't even yours anymore. And you think there that the skin, even the whole idea there that getting your nails done, you get, you know, you put your nails under UV light, right? My wife does that there, and I actually had to tell her, I said, you really shouldn't be doing that, because UV light can cause, you know, cancer. It can cause irregular cell division, which ends up being cancer. And so you have to look here, the skin, the nails, and the hair, we've seen it all. These, you know, these cells here are rapidly growing, okay? And then wherever you have rapid cell growth, you don't really want to have cancer-causing agents continually exposing themselves to these rapidly dividing cells. Kind of makes sense, doesn't it? So just take care of yourself. Knowledge is power. Yeah, let's go. So let's start off here. So the stratum-based cell there contains these two cells. Okay, the Merkel cells there, melanocytes. Okay, this is where these new cells are created, and they will eventually move up, right? So that's your stratum-based cell. Moving on up here, stratum spinosum. Okay, we're up into the next level now. So the cells here, they appear shiny, composed of 8 to 10 layers, okay, of keratinocytes formed there from the results of cell division, okay, in the stratum-based cell, which continually pushes these cells up and up and up to the next level. Interspersed in this level are what we call dendritic cells, called Langerhans cells. These ones here are, I call them Pac-Man, okay, chomp, chomp. They, any bacteria gets in, you know, the skin is not perfect. There might, you know, cracked skin, these kinds of things, and a bacteria will get in. It already has these dendritic cells there that are able there to chomp, chomp. Phagocytosis, remember that word? Okay, be able to break down and get rid of bacteria and unwanted foreign particles. Okay, so in this layer here, the keratinocytes begin producing keratin. Okay, the continued mitotic division of the stratum-based cell. Okay, there's a good little close-up there. You should have a look at that. Okay, I won't click on it there because YouTube will, I'm not giving anybody credit, but yeah, have a look at that there. It blows everything all the way up so you can see. It's a great little slide. Moving on up to now the stratum granulosum. Okay, we're now into this area up in here. You see, quite different. Okay, you can see how these cells, they start off cuboidal, but then they get squashed and squashed and squashed as they go up. Where to the point there they become grainy, flatter, okay, with a thicker cell membrane, because further changes to keratinocytes come from the stratum spinosum, about 3 to 5 layers, now generating large amounts of keratin, okay, and keratohyalin. And it's at this point here that we encounter apoptosis. Remember that word? Programmed cell death, where the nuclei and cell organelles are, they begin to disintegrate, leaving behind only this empty corn husk, okay, and dry, because that's what our skin needs to be. It's all about waterproofing, right? Stratum lucidum here, this is the thick skin, smooth translucent layer found below the stratum granulosum, okay, and below the above the stratum. Sorry, I'll just change that right now, and you can make the same change. Above the stratum granulosum and below the stratum corneum. Okay, just update that myself. Found only in the thick skin. Okay, keratinocytes here are dead and flattened. You can see them there. There's no nuclei, nothing. They're dead. Okay, densely packed there with elidin, a clear protein rich in lipids derived from keratohyalin. Okay, and kind of gives that translucent, and you can kind of see it on your skin. Okay, there's almost like a translucent layer. Okay, water barrier. And the top layer, stratum corneum, this is the most superficial layer of the epidermis, okay, with the layer that is exposed to the outside world, okay. Increased keratinization, 15 to 30 layers, okay. You can also, what we call, microdermabrasion, the whole idea there. And it actually does make you look younger, all right. You have, 15 to 30 layers of this dead skin, and that is our skin. But if you remove some of these layers there, this skin here is younger. So you are looking younger, right? The helps prevent penetration of microbes, dehydration, mechanical protection, and against abrasion there for the underlying layers. Sheds periodically about every 4 weeks, okay? So as I said, the majority of our dust there that we sweep up off the floor, dead skin cells. Cosmetic procedure, microdermabrasion removes the upper layers there, making you look younger. Perfect. There's a little recap there. We've seen that slide already. There's your dead cells there filled with keratin there that fly off and constitute our dust. But yeah, everything there is good to go. All right, there are all the layers there for the epidermis. Here's just different shots there of what's going on. Okay, there's your stratum corneum on top, lucidum there, that's your thick skin. There's your granulosum. Okay, stratum spinosum, which tends to be a bigger layer, and then there's your basal along the bottom, and then these are your dermal papillae. Remember, it's all about increasing surface area, because here's the dermis, here's the epidermis. And if that was just a flat line, okay, yeah, you'd have contact, but you don't have as much contact as you would if the dermis creeps up and creeps up and creeps up. It's all about increasing surface area. And you remember there that these guys here constitute our fingerprints. Perfect. So, moving on into the dermis. This is now the underlying layer where you have a lot more things going on. Okay, blood vessels, nerve, these kinds of things. Lies under and supports the epidermis, absolutely. Sits on the sub-Q layer or hypodermis, embedded with accessory structures there, blood vessels there that nourish the epidermis. What role do the collagen and elastin fibers of the dermis play? These fibers make the dermis stretchable and strong. What accessory structures are embedded in the dermis? There you go. Hair, nails, and the sensory receptors there that detect pain, temperature, pressure, and touch are all located here. There's really not much going on in the epidermis as far as touch. So the next time there you touch a wall, you can feel it. But is it even really possible? The thickness of the epidermis and dermis varies according to the location of the body. Okay, stretch marks can occur most commonly there during pregnancy, weight gain. The skin can stretch. Okay. And yes, absolutely, the thickness of the skin varies depending upon where it is. You can have a thicker skin there on the back, but then you look at the skin right here on our forehead, okay? Very, very thin. Very, very thin. All right, let's have a look here. So here is the dermis. There's a lot going on here, you know, and as I said, it's not closed book. Everything here is open book, but you'll see what's going on. And we'll just zoom in a little bit here, okay? We're just going to knock off some of these things there. We're just looking at the dermis itself. You'll see there's your hair follicle, okay? There is your erectae pillae muscle, okay? You have sebaceous glands there that feed the hair, okay? You have sweat glands, and you'll see there these sweat glands there, you know, all the way up, okay? Where then there's a sweat gland pore, okay? Minor blood vessels going on here, sensory touch, yeah, lots going on, okay? We'll get more into these as we go. So the dermis here binds the epidermis to the underlying tissue. Okay, there's your dermal papillae again. Those are the collagen fibers. They extend upward there towards the epidermis. Okay, it's all about strength. Genetically determined pattern of friction ridges there formed by the dermal papillae provide for unique fingerprints. Okay, the fibers there provide a toughness and elasticity. They contain fibroblasts, macrophages. Those are the chomp, phagocytic, adipocytes, blood vessels, nerve fibers, sensory receptors, hair follicles, sebaceous glands, sweat glands. It all happens here in the dermis. Moving on into the hypodermis here. This is the tissue there that lies below the dermis. Highly vascularized. When we're saying vascular, I mean vein, I mean artery. Okay, there's lots of blood vessels down in here, and that's why we call it sub-Q when we do an injection, because it's really, this is the area there that the injection needs to go. Okay, two main roles there. The fat insulates the body from extreme temperature changes. Its connective tissue anchors the skin to underlying structure. Okay, and looking at the subcutaneous layer, you know, now you're into, you see the fat adipose tissue, okay, major blood vessels here. These aren't just little guys. Now we're into the major blood vessels. There's the fat, okay, muscle layer, all included in here, okay. And as I said there earlier, the whole idea there that you have to understand this for the rest of your life, that whatever you put on your skin, it'll be in your blood sooner than later, okay? So the skin can absorb many chemicals, okay? It's actually, there's a medical term there, transdermal application, okay? It can be dangerous, especially there with everyday products, like people who are quitting smoking cessation, the whole idea of putting on a nicotine patch, all right? The nicotine there goes through the skin, makes its way to the blood. There's your nicotine, okay? Drug delivery systems there, potential. You got hypodermic injections, transdermal patches, intradermal injections there, allergy testing, okay? Topical applications, okay? Creams, these kinds of things. They just go into the skin and they're into the blood sooner than later, okay? What are some drugs there that can be given transdermally? Okay, nicotine, these kinds of things. What are some toxins there that can be absorbed through the skin? Oh ho ho! One of the most dangerous chemicals known to humankind is nicotinamide, a derivative there of nicotine. Okay, they use it as a pesticide. This one here has killed all of our bees. When you think about it, when the bees go, all food production stops. It's a bad one. Dry cleaning fluid, acetone. Okay, acetone there. Where do we get acetone? Okay, nail polish remover. Mercury. You can't get any worse than mercury. You can't. Yeah, you guys can have a look at those there. The skin tells a story for sure. If you're healthy, you will have a glow about you, right? You've heard, the whole idea there that, oh, you have such a glow about you. That's your skin, okay? Reflects the disease process of the body. If you're not healthy, your skin won't be healthy, okay? Drug reactions reflected there in skin changes. The skin responds to chronic irritation. Okay, the whole idea there that if you have a pair of shoes and they're rubbing against the back of your ankle, your skin will respond with a blister. And the skin will mirror your stress level. So if you are not in a good place mentally, your skin will reflect that. Okay, many clinical disorders present initially there with skin rashes. Okay, generally speaking, we could get a rash and you have no idea where you got this rash from. And you go to a doctor and the doctor says, yeah, you have contact dermatitis. It just means you have a rash and you don't know where it came from. Okay, and you have to go backtrack. Did you just change your laundry soap? Is there any new products or chemicals there within the house? Did your kids go to school and come in contact with something and then bring it there to you? All these kinds of things there. A person allergic to penicillin may develop hives. And the medical word for hives, urticaria. Epidermal cell growth increases in response to certain stimuli. For example, constant irritation or rubbing in an area causes the epidermis there to increase, and you'll actually get a thickened area called a callus. Makes sense, right? Perfect. Here, look, you have a look at nails. And as I said there, the nails, the skin, and the hair, I want you to think of them as all the same. There's a basement membrane there where all of these cells are created. New ones underneath. These ones get pushed up. They keratinize. They die. Nails are the same way. Protective covering over the ends of the fingers and the toes. This is our body armor. Consists of a nail plate, okay, overlaying a layer of skin surface there called the nail bed. Okay, this is the good one right here. All right, the whole idea there that this area, this white area in here, that this is the most actively mitotically. Most active mitotically, can't have two LYs, two adverbs. So you'll see there a half moon shaped structure at the base of the nail plate, most actively growing region of the nail root. As new cells are produced, older ones are pushed outward and become keratinized. You got it. Okay. This is every year I keep threatening to remove this movie. It's only, I think, about 20 seconds long. It's quite silly, but I've kept it in. Just a little movie there. It gives you an idea about what's going on there with the nail. Okay? Good. Now looking at the hair, and you'll see there that the hair transverses there the epidermis, and you see that epidermal layer actually comes all the way down through the dermal layer. Okay, so the hair is basically encapsulated there with epidermal cells. Okay, and it goes right down to the hypodermis there where these blood vessels feed it. So the hair is alive, most definitely. Okay, detects insects, protects eyes, keeps dust out of the lungs. Now, wherever there is an outgrowth of hair, there's a purpose for that. Armpits, pubic region, okay, eyelashes, eyebrows. If you guys would be too young to know about this there, but there was a hockey player there, Boris Salming there from the Toronto Maple Leafs there in the 1980s that was chasing after this guy who had the puck. I don't know, the guy fell, and he's chasing him, right? And this guy fell, and his skate came up and sliced him. Now you have to think there that the whole idea that our eyes are sunken into our head for a reason, but there's also the eyebrows and eyelashes here. It's all about sensory, highly sensitive. Okay, and the skate blade came, and it actually cut right in here like this. It protected the eye. So yeah, he's got a nice scar, but the eye is fine, and it's all about protection. Okay, a bug flies in there, you're able to detect it and swat it away, right? Hormones there affect growth. Okay, cancer treatment can stop the hair from growing. Melanin influences the color of the hair, and you see here in some people, tend to be older people, you lose that color. So the hair rises there in the epidermis, as we said. There's your erectae pillae muscle, that whenever we are a little freaked out or cold there, this little muscle here will flex, and therefore causing the hair to stand straight up. And these are your goose bumps. Okay. So it's found in nearly all regions of the skin except the where there is thick skin. Okay. As well, the lips, nipples. Okay, and portions of the external genitalia. Okay. Develops there from epithelial cells at the base of a tube-like depression called the hair follicle, which we saw, which dips down into the dermis and even a little lower into the epidermis, or sorry, the hypodermis. Okay. Yeah, nice little electron micrograph. You see here there that the hair, once it protrudes from the skin, it you'll see there these keratinized cells of the hair shaft there, dry. Okay, and it's the whole market there of conditioners, right? You wash your hair and then you use conditioner after to make it all soft and smooth and silky. We use creams on our skin there to do the same. We even have cream there for our nails. All right, it's all the same thing, kind of. Yeah. So the hair color is determined there by melanin secretion. Okay, the epidermal cells of the hair follicle receive a rich supply of blood. These cells then divide and grow. The older cells are pushed up. What role do the erectae pillae muscles play? There you go. We're all good to go on that one. Okay. More about the hair follicle there. There's a movie here. It's quite in depth. Okay, it's kind of beyond where we want to be, but it just goes into all the different aspects of the hair follicle, the root, and it's way beyond the nature of this course here. But have a look at it. You know what I mean? Knowledge is power. Okay, so the deepest part of the hair root is called the hair bulb. Okay, and that's this area right here. And you'll see there's your epidermis, your dermis, and then your subq hypodermis down in here. Okay, and it's located at the base of the follicle. Okay, all new cells are formed in the bulb. Old cells are pushed up and die, forming the hair shaft. Okay, the hair is composed of dead keratinized epithelial cells. Okay, there's your sebaceous gland there. Okay, it's involved in nourishing, okay, the hair follicle. And then you'll see there, right at the very base within the hair bulb there, we have the hair papilla. Okay, and this one here, this is where the hair is alive. Okay, just another cartoon beside a real shot there of a hair follicle. Okay, region of cell division. You see these guys here are actively mitotically growing and doubling. Okay, and then we get into the hair root, and then we begin the hair follicle as it grows up. Okay. Hair color is determined by genetics. Absolutely. Melanin there produced by melanocytes is responsible for most hair color. Okay. Not this hair color, because I don't have any. Types and amounts of melanin are factors there. Dark hair contains eumelin. Okay. This is brownish black color. While blonde red hair, pheomelin. Okay, it tends to be more reddish blonde and yellowish. Okay, so eumelin, there's your color. Pheomelin, there's your color. Genetic lack of melanin causes albinism. Albino, the whole idea there where there is no pigment. And you see this exhibited in, creatures every now and again. Like you'll see a picture there on the front page of the paper there, that there was an albino deer spotted, or alligator, or snake, or, all these kinds of things, right? Where even human beings, I even think that there was a TV show, okay? Red eyes, white hair, white skin, okay? Just a lack of pigment, okay? Erectae pillae muscle attaches there to each hair follicle, okay? There's your goose bumps. Androgenic alopecia. Androgenic, male, alopecia, no hair. We'll get more into these, okay? Pigmentation there determined by genes, physiology, sometimes pathology, okay? Dark pigment there, here melanin there secreted by the melanocytes, okay? Melanocyte malfunction, albinism, vitiligo, moles. We'll get into those there too. If you ate 100 carrots a day, your skin would go yellow. Okay, carotene there, presence of melanin overshadows keratina's tint in most people. But, you know, if you eat a lot of carrots, your skin will turn orange. Okay, physiological changes there, blushing. Okay, makes the face go red. This is where the blood vessels in the face dilate. So they actually come closer to the skin surface, so therefore the skin appears red. Paler there where the blood vessels constrict, you know, when somebody looks like grim death, but they're not, you know, they've had a horrible day and they don't feel, you know, they don't look good, and that's because those blood vessels, okay, have constricted and gone away. So therefore, face doesn't look as good as it should. What is the physiological basis of getting a summer tan? Okay, UV radiation boosts melanin production, okay, beginning with a tan, but can potentially lead to permanent damage. People there that are sun worshippers, they're always in the sun, you go to tanning beds, these kinds of things there, the skin will eventually start to look old. Okay. Pathology, okay. Pathology here, we're talking about disease, okay. There's cyanosis or a bluish tint. It just means poor oxygenation. Okay, the whole idea there that, you know, the skin, your lips are blue because they're not getting, you know, you came out of cold water or something like this, right? Poor oxygenation. Jaundice or yellowing, okay, this is where you could have potential liver trouble, okay, where there's the skin starts to look yellow, the eyes there's a yellowish tint, okay, because things are backing up in the blood and can't get out. Bronzing of the skin, melanin overproduction, okay, ecchymosis there, black and blue bruising. Okay, we'll get in more into these there, we'll show you. Here we're looking at some moles here. Moles are abnormal but harmless concentrations of melanin, okay, and when you're looking at a mole and you want to know if it's a good mole, well, first of all, please consult your physician. But generally speaking, moles grow, you know, kind of like a bacterial culture where we have one bacterial cell and then, you know, we leave that, you know, in its petri dish for a couple days. It will grow out in a circle, okay? So you can measure it that it's the same going measuring this way, it's the same measuring this way, it's the same. So it's basically a perfect circle. That is a good looking mole, a healthy mole. But when you start getting moles there that aren't circles, and you see this one here, where this one here is wider at one end than it is the other, that can be problematic, okay? And we call this there melanoma, skin cancer, okay? Irregular, and yeah, that's what it is. So if you have any of those, get them checked out. Melanin there, process regulated there by tyranase, okay? Exposure to sunlight, UV radiation, certain hormones, absolute cumulative effect, okay? If you're a sun worshiper, if you're out in the sun every day, it won't take long for you to look older than you are, okay? Exposure to sunlight causes melanocytes to increase melanin production and darken the skin. That's a tan. UV radiation can break down other important molecules such as folic acid, can cause severe damage leading to skin cancer. Okay, so here we have, remember there, what slide is this? Slide 39. If we go all the way back into here, you'll see these melanocytes in here. They kind of look like these octopus. Okay, they stretch out in between, okay, the epidermal cells. So I'm just going back. And you'll see here's just another shot here. This is the melanocyte here. You know, it kind of has these tentacles. Okay. All right, just an electron micrograph of the same thing. Okay, and here these guys here are producing melanin. Okay, darkening of the skin. Okay, to protect it, because if the skin is trying to darken itself through tanning, that means that you are exposing it to too much UV light. Okay. Now, skin pigmentation. All right. Moving this up here because the formatting stinks in Blackboard. There we go. So you'll see here the whole idea. This is kind of a new shot of what we just showed you, okay, previously against the old shot, okay, that we saw earlier in the PowerPoint. And you'll see there how this all goes. Okay, so hopefully there you have a good idea of what's going on when you're talking the hypodermis, the dermis, and the epidermis there in conjunction with melanocyte skin pigmentation. Okay, good. And tanning effects on the skin. Okay, you'll see what's going on here. Caucasian, Asian, African American. Your photo shows there the skin effects of UV radiation on day 8 after exposure to increasing doses, okay, of UV radiation upon the skin. Okay, you'll notice there the redness and the irritation, okay, in this individual as opposed to these individuals here, and it's all about the amount of melanin involved. Age spots, these happen there, also called liver spots, okay. They occur in elderly individuals, okay, what we call hyperpigmentation from the cumulative effect of ultraviolet light over years. So people there that have been working in the sun, you know, for long periods of time, okay, this is what happens, and you get these liver spots, okay, and it's just too much sun over too long a period, and the skin begins to overproduce pigment to protect itself against UV radiation. Cyanosis. Okay, the blue discoloration of the fingers of this light-skinned individual is caused by the diffusion of light reflected off dark, unoxygenated hemoglobin in the blood vessels of the skin. Okay, you see that shiny appearance there in the blue? Okay, the fingertips have an especially high volume of blood and thus look bluer than other regions of the skin. Okay, not enough oxygen kicking around. And you see, these guys turn blue. Okay, good. No, there wasn't anything there. Skin discoloration, the whole idea of bruising. And a word there, bruising, I'm just going to write it right here. Move this out. And you'll see there that bruising, the whole idea of getting a bruise. A bruise is bleeding under the skin. Subdermal hematoma. And that's what we call a bruise. It's called a subdermal hematoma. Okay, subdermal, hypodermis. Okay, heme, here we're talking blood, toma, we're talking trauma. Okay, so if you get you know, hit with a baseball bat, or I remember when I was in grade 5, I got a softball right in the thigh, you know, right in the meat of the thigh, right? And you all those blood vessels underneath the skin, because you know the hypodermis is full of blood, they can break, they can get smashed, and then you have blood leakage into all that area, and that's red blood. But as the body starts to clean up all that blood there, you'll start to see different pigmentation. And you'll see there that if you get hit, there's your initial bruising, right? The blood goes into the hypodermis, okay, subdermal region. There's your release of your blood RBCs into the interstitial fluid. And it's a pain in the butt because it's all got to get cleaned up, right? And phagocytosis of these red blood cells, okay, they all get chomp, chomp, chomp. They've got to be cleaned up. They got to get all these, because the blood has got to be in the arteries. The blood can't be, you know, floating around the cells. It's not doing anybody any good. So all that through the process of phagocytosis, chomp chomp, Pac-Man, these RBCs get moved up, and you'll see there that different colors arise, and it all has to do with just different components there of the RBCs, red blood cells. In this light-skinned individual, different colors appear in the bruised area of the skin. Hemoglobin red becomes unoxygenated and turns bluish and perhaps even black, okay, as the blood begins to clot, okay. As macrophages, chomp chomp, Pac-Man, begin to consume the hemoglobin, it is broken down into brownish, greenish, and yellowish pigments, sometimes producing a rainbow of skin colors, as you can see in this individual right here. You can even see there, you blow it up, you see the eyes, right? Blood vessels there have been popped, okay? And you'll start to see discoloration in the eye. You'll see the same colors, green, blue, yellow, as the blood starts to get removed. We're making good time here. I like this. This is a fun one. I like the skin. It's nice. So what we have going on here, just some more terminology. Diseases of the skin, okay, or skin color change. There's your melanoma. Skin cancer from epithelial cells. Those epithelial cells, remember at the basement, they're actively mitotically growing. And if you keep exposing that area to UV light, like my wife was doing there, you know, she gets her nails done and she, you know, would put her nails underneath the UV light. I mean, directly under UV light. Not good at all. Should never do that. There's got to be another way to get those nails on there other than curing them with UV light. Albinism, disorder there that affects the coloring of the skin, hairs, and eyes. Okay, vitiligo. Some melanocytes lose the ability to produce melanin. Okay, vitiligo. Liver disease, cancer. Okay, here jaundice. Okay, where the skin and eyes turn yellow. Tumors of the pituitary gland, which we'll get into when we get into nervous system there, results in darkening of the skin. Addison's disease, here we're talking about bronzing of the skin. There's your keratin from carrots. Cyanosis, low O2 in the blood, alopecia, hair loss anywhere. And by the way, women can suffer alopecia just as much as men. Okay. Accessory glands. Okay, you've got your sebaceous. Okay, which are oil glands. They secrete sebum. Okay, these are associated there with the hair follicle. Okay, sebum. You can actually buy that in a bottle, and they'll sell it to you for your hair, right? You buy shampoos and these, and they advertise with sebum. Sudoriferous glands here. These are what we call sweat glands. There's apocrine glands and eccrine glands here as well. Those are those sweat glands involved. Now, depending upon where they are in the body, sweat glands here, okay, are different than the sweat glands in the pubic region or in the armpit region. You know, we sweat, we have sweat glands everywhere. The whole point is there to release water, you know, to cool the body down. We know that already. But they're, depending upon where these are, they'll form a different function. So a small number of sebaceous glands open directly there to the surface of the skin. Okay. The sebum lubricates and helps waterproof the hair and the skin, as well as inhibits the growth of bacteria on the surface of the skin. So the sebum there, it's kind of like an antibacterial. Nice, eh? Very good. The sebaceous glands here, when we get into these guys here, okay? Sebaceous glands here. This is how this sebum is produced. Like, when you get into endocrine and exocrine glands here, endocrine, they don't have a duct or a throughway, but exocrine glands, these are glands that produce something. Endocrine glands, they produce something as well, hormones, but they don't have a duct. They don't have a way to get it out and into the bloodstream. These exocrine glands, like this sebaceous there, it has a duct. And you'll see there that these glands, this is how these glands produce things. Okay? It's just kind of a little reservoir in here, and the whatever there is being produced divides. In this case here, this cell falls off, disintegration happens, and the release of sebum. Okay, and there's a throughway, a duct, and you'll see there, out it goes. Okay, or if it's associated there with the hair follicle, it makes its way all the way up. Okay, so secretes an oily substance called sebum that waterproofs and moisturizes the hair and the skin. Also known as a holocrine gland, where the entire cells filled with the secretion are released, and then these cells disintegrate on their way out to the skin and to the hair, releasing the sebum. Okay, there's a movie there if you are interested. Now, getting into these ones here, the sudoriferous, okay, the sweat glands. These ones here, they kind of look the same. They're exocrine glands, okay? They have a throughway. They have a duct. Endocrines do not have a duct, but they still produce things. We'll get there. Probably in and around. We'll hit we hit endocrine throughout the nature of the course, but we have a week of it there, I think, before reproduction there towards the end. So these merocrine glands, okay, exocytosis, 2 types of sweat glands, okay, these are the sudoriferous, okay. There is the eccrine, okay, merocrine gland that releases mostly water, more abundant type, okay. This is all about sweat and regulating body temperature, found on the forehead, the neck, and the back, okay. If you get nervous, you know, the first place that's going to sweat is right here on the forehead, always, okay. Then you also have what's called a apocrine gland. This is also a merocrine gland which becomes active at puberty. Okay, thank you. I think I saw that. The endocrine system, okay, this one here produces hormones. It doesn't have a duct. And I don't want to get too heavy into the endocrine system just yet, but there's endocrine and exocrine. They both produce something. Exocrine glands, though, they have a duct. Endocrine glands, they produce something that there is no duct. There's no way for it to get out. It just gets produced, and it just kind of reverberates through the interstitial tissue until eventually it gets picked up by the bloodstream. So we'll get more into that as we go. Sorry if I didn't answer your question, but I'll get back to it, I promise. Okay, all right, you're great. Keep asking. So these apocrine glands, they're also merocrine, which become active at puberty. Okay, they respond to fear, emotional upsetness, pain, sexual arousal, most numerous in the armpits and the genitalia. Okay, and now these guys here, they're producing, okay, but this one here there's little bits of protein and fats and sugars involved in this one here. It's a different kind of gland. These eccrine glands, just getting rid of water, dropping the body temperature. These ones here, it's a little different, okay? As we said there, responds to fear, sexual arousal, when you're emotionally upset, pain. And these guys here are found in the armpits and the genitalia, where the sweat contains proteins and fats that produce body odor because of bacterial decomposition. Like wherever there's a food source, bacteria will be. And these glands here, this sweat, okay, proteins and fats, which are a food source to bacteria, so that's why we tend to get our armpits smell, right? Which is why we put on deodorant. You don't want to use antiperspirant. Antiperspirant, antiperspire, anything that stops your body from doing what it's supposed to do naturally, perspiration, sweating, can't be good. All right? Yeah, just having a look here at the glands involved. Okay, there's your apocrine gland. Okay, right in here. This is the smelly one, and you'll see there it makes its way all the way up. Eccrine, okay, that's for water. Okay, that's these ones here. Perfect. Body temperature. key terms. Now, I don't know if you guys remember. I'm sure you most certainly do remember the whole idea of homeostasis. Okay, where the body has to maintain, seriously, the body has to maintain a stable internal environment regardless of what's going on outside. Could be -20, +30, +50, raining, hurricane, whatever it is, the body still has to maintain a perfect internal regulation. So, body temperature. There's core temperature, where this is the inner part of the body. Okay? Shell temperature, the surface area. Okay? What is the temperature there on the outside of the body? Thermoregulation. Okay? Balance of heat production and heat loss. And you'll see here there's some interesting, what is a normal body temperature? Okay? Somewhere around 36, 37 degrees Celsius. You're in and about that range. And you think, that's a pretty tight range. That basically you get about 1.5 degrees Celsius. That's where the body exists all the time in order to be alive. You've got hypothermia, which is cold. You've got hyperthermia, which is too hot. Okay, both can cause death. How can core and shell temperature be measured? Core temperature is measured rectally. Okay, putting a thermometer up the bum. Okay, shell temperature can be measured outside. Okay, and yeah, you can use a laser. You know that when you're walking through the airport there. I remember during COVID, the whole idea there that they would shoot you with a laser and they could tell your temperature right there. Heat production. We are warm-blooded. Do you ever wonder where all of our heat comes from? Muscles. Our muscles, you know, they burn the sugar there that we eat from the banana that we had for breakfast, and in that process there, heat is released. So that's why we're warm-blooded. Okay? It's all based on metabolism, basis of body temperature. Blood disperses the heat throughout the body. Absolutely. Most heat is produced by the muscles, the liver, and endocrine glands. Affected by food consumption, hormones, disease, and physical activity. Okay? The amount of heat is affected by food consumption, physical activity, and hormonal secretions, thyroid gland disorders. We'll get more into that. Thyroid is a good one. Thyroid, if you have a healthy thyroid, you feel like $1,000,000. If you don't have a healthy thyroid, man, I tell you, everything else in the body is suffering. We'll get there. So, heat loss. Sites there. Skin, 80%. Absolutely. The whole idea there that a newborn baby, like babies are strange looking creatures to begin with. I love them, you know what I mean? But the human being, our head, is about 1/8 the entire length of our body. But babies, excuse me, their head is about 1/3 the size of their body. And we lose a lot of heat throughout our head, and that's why you ever take a newborn baby out, even on a relatively warm day, you just might see some type of head covering there, because you don't want any type of heat loss too much, okay? The lungs are a major area for excretion and heat loss as well. We'll get there. There's 4 types of heat. There's radiant. Okay, here, I'll just blow this up there so we can all see, which is why this is why we do this kind of screen looking here. So you'll see radiant heat, flow of heat waves away from the blood and the skin. You have conduction, okay, the transfer of heat energy to the skin, and then, okay, it's actually contacting, okay. You have convection, transfer of heat energy to cooler areas, okay, that is continually flowing away from the skin, all right. And then you have evaporation, the whole idea that water can hold a lot of heat. Where we are here in southern Ontario, we tend to have warmer autumns and cooler springs, because we're surrounded by all these body of water there that, you know, they heat up for the whole summer and they're hot. The water is warm in October, okay, because that water holds on to the heat very well. But then, you know, you get through the whole winter and it's -20. Now, come March and April there, it takes a long time for that water to warm up. Okay, so when we lose water through evaporation there of our skin, it takes the heat with it. All right. Temperature regulation. Here we're talking about the hypothalamus, and I haven't gone into the brain at all, and I'm really not going to go into the brain right now. You guys will be hitting the brain there the next half of the semester. Okay, so, and you have to think there that the whole idea of thermal regulation, maintaining our body temperature, and it works like this. I'm going to try and do it in the screen there that you guys can see. If our body temperature starts to rise, right? Okay, then a message is sent there to the hypothalamus. Okay, where the hypothalamus receives the message, okay, our body temperature is 39 degrees, and it actually checks what's called a set point. And our hypothalamus, it controls a lot of different things there. So this message that our body temperature is 39 degrees just came in, hypothalamus takes that information and compares it against the set point. Whoa, man, we should be at 37 degrees. All right. So what the body does is there, it will invoke things to get that temperature down. Okay. Dilation of blood vessels. Get those blood vessels as close to the surface of the skin as possible. Get that heat out. Sweating. Taking the water out. Water can hold on to heat, so we get rid of the water, and the water will take the heat with it. Now, okay, so our body temperature is now dropping. Well, hey, wait a second. There's no turn-off switch. Our body's getting too cold. So the message gets sent to the hypothalamus again. Whoa, our body temperature is at 36 degrees. All right, the hypothalamus again checks the set point. Should be at 37 degrees. Now we're way too cold, so what the body does is there, it invokes certain actions there to increase the body temperature. And in this case here, shivering. I don't know if you've ever been in -40, you know, the whole idea where you can't control your body and you're shivering. Your body is forcing you to movement because movement is kinetic energy and movement creates heat. The blood vessels constrict. They go away from the surface of the skin to conserve heat. Okay, and no sweating at all. So this is this whole idea of homeostasis. And you'll see there that there's no turn-off switch. Remember, our temperature was dropping, right? And all of a sudden there, our body started to shiver. So then our body temperature increases. And then back. It's always monitoring. It's always... And that's what homeostasis is. Your body is never asleep. Okay? It's always monitoring 24/7/365. Okay? Perfecto. And again, more about the hypothalamus there. With exercise and temperature elevation, the blood vessels dilate, therefore allowing more blood to flow to the skin. This activity transfers heat, right? Get that water out, move those blood vessels as close to the skin in a high temperature situation. Under extreme conditions of heat, 12 liters of sweat can be secreted in a 24-hour period. So that means there that, you see, your body is in a sweating situation. Okay, you're releasing water. And you're releasing a lot of water. You have to replace that. Have to, right? The body's response to heat loss. Okay. Blood vessels constrict. Okay. Sweat glands become less active. And skeletal muscles contract vigorously. Okay. This is called shivering. Okay. This is, you know, in a heating situation, in a cooling situation. Okay. Newborns. I really don't want to get into the whole idea, or when we're talking about anatomy, physiology of infants. Okay, prenatal, natal. That's a whole nother ball game. Okay, so just one or two slides here on this, but we did talk about the whole idea there that babies' heads are bigger than ours, comparatively speaking, and with respects to the body, so they will lose more heat than they produce. Large surface area, large bald head, less insulation, must rely on non-shivering, thermogenesis, metabolism. They have what's called brown fat. Okay? have a look at that. I won't test you on it, but it's a good one to know. Okay, they have a very limited capacity to dissipate heat. So babies, you have to watch them. Okay. Thermostat, you have a look here. Normothermia, this is our normal temperature range. This is where we like to be. Fever, pyrexia. Okay, now here, a fever, this is one of those ways there that we can tell that we have an infection. Okay, it's one of those ways there that if you have a fever, that means there that you have been invaded by a virus, a bacteria, some type of pathogen. Okay, so that's what's going on here. We've got hyperthermia, elevation of body temperature, and we have hypothermia. Okay, this is where you fall through the ice. Okay, and quite deadly, because if you fall into the icy water, what happens? You just instantly freeze. You go into complete panic because the water is so cold. This one here, I put in here, this is a new addition there to this year, the skin and how it weaves and winds itself around our whole body to envelop it and cover it all. There are it moves in waves. And when I'm not talking it moves in waves. I'm saying there it is grown in waves. And you'll see that there are certain patterns of the skin. And if you, like, surgeons know about this, they know exactly which way the skin is going in a particular region of the body. And doctors will cut along the skin in that particular region. All right, and you'll see there that here I have A, and you'll see the Langer lines or cleavage lines are going this way. And if you cut against, the grain, so to speak, you'll have some type of a scar. Okay, but if you cut with, generally speaking, you really shouldn't see it again. So doctors and surgeons there, they know if they're going to open you up here or here or here, they know which way the Langer lines are going, so they're able to at least facilitate. It's more of a cosmetic issue because nobody wants, scars here or there or whatever at all, right? So those are called Langer lines, and you'll see how the skin weaves itself around us. Burns, okay, this one here is just, it's all based on depth. And you'll see there's your epidermis, your dermis, your subq, and yes, they follow those same patterns. And you talk about the whole idea there that, you could burn yourself topically, where you have a red mark, but you didn't breach, you didn't burn off, you didn't damage, so to speak, the structural area of the epidermis. But then you could also have such a bad burn where the epidermis is completely removed, now exposing the dermis. You can see how dangerous this is now, because this dead skin is our only protection against the bugs, right? And then if you have a worse burn, the dermis is now burned off. Now what are you exposing here? The fat, the major blood vessels, possibly even bone. Stuff doesn't grow back. Okay, once it's gone, it's gone. What type of burn is a sunburn? It's what we call a first-degree burn. Third-degree burns are pain-free. Yeah, because you burned off all the nerves, right? Having a look here. You'll see it here, classification of burns there. There's your first degree. All right. Second degree, you'll see what's going on. Third degree, you'll see. And again, it's all about basically removal. Okay, you burned the skin off so badly there that it's gone. And that's where, and then you're down into a fourth degree now, where this is, and basically, they're all deep. You can have a sunburn. That's a first degree, where, and depending upon the nature of the sunburn, you can have a little sunburn with the skin, you put a little cream on and it's fine there the next day. But then we've all had those really, really bad sunburns there where, you know, it starts to peel, right? That's because you burned the epidermis off and it starts to peel and it regenerates, okay? Second degree, you'll see where we're at now to the different areas that goes on, okay? Third degree and fourth degree, now you're probably looking at some type of bone exposure. Partial thickness burns include first and second degree burns. Full thickness burns include third degree. Fourth degree burns involve tissue under the skin, such as muscle or bone. Terminology based on degrees is considered outdated, but is still used in clinical settings. So there's your first, second, third, and fourth degree burns. Okay, first degree causes general discomfort and redness. Second degree, damage to sweat glands, hair follicles, sebaceous glands may occur, but tissue death is not complete. So there should be some recovery. Okay. Third degree burns are also called full thickness burns. Tissue death extends below the hair follicle and sweat glands. Once it's gone, it's gone. Fourth degree designation there that may be used involving, there's your muscle, fascia, bone. The rule of 9. That's this one here coming right up. A method of estimating the amount of skin surface burned in an adult. And you'll see there that if a burn victim is coming in there on an ambulance, they're going to call ahead and say, hey, we've got a burn victim there with, 30% burn. Okay? And how do they quickly calculate that? And it's called the rule of 9s. And you'll see here that the way that this has happened, and it's quite amazing. The skin surface there on the anterior portion of the arm is 4.5%. On the back side of the arm is 4.5%. You're going to see 9s everywhere. The front leg, which is bigger than the arm, the front of the leg is 9% of the total skin surface. The back of the leg is another 9. So a full leg is 18%. This full leg here is 18%. The chest, the anterior portion of the torso of the individual, that is 18%. The back portion of the individual, okay, is 18%. The front of the head is 4.5. The back of the head is 4.5. So it's a quick, easy way to estimate how much skin has been removed or burned off or damaged. Okay? The rule of 9. Good. Good word there, eschar. Just the dead skin that sloughs off. Yeah, bad one. Wound care. The whole idea, when you do get a wound, a puncture, a knife, a cut, an abrasion, something there that pierces the skin. And you'll see there that we have, I thought I had a diagram. I do right there. We'll get to it there. Stage 1 where the skin isn't broken but maybe slightly red in appearance. Okay, the wound is pressed on. The area underneath your finger will not turn white. Okay. The wound is open and or broken. This is what we call a stage 2. This may look like a blister that's ruptured. Okay, and just be careful, blisters. Blisters are perfectly sterile if they're not broken. So if a blister is there, let it be. Do not pop it. Because if a blister does pop now, bacteria can get into that, deflated parachute. And that is a perfect place for bacteria to grow. So if you ever do pop a blister or, you have to remove all of that skin and expose it there so it can dry and doesn't get exposed there to bacteria. Stage 3 wound has a deep crater-like appearance down into the fat portion of the skin. The tissue will typically have a yellow-colored, dead tissue. Some stage 4, which is the most serious. Okay, now we're into the muscle, bone, tendon may be exposed, detailing there the extreme nature of the seriousness of the wound itself. Inflammation, in which blood vessels dilate and become more permeable. The whole idea of inflation. Oh, sorry, inflammation. Yeah, inflation. Don't even get me started on inflation. Yeah, the whole inflammation. If you somehow have, the skin is inflamed in here, it's red, it's sore, it's tender, Well, yeah, because there's more cells there at the moment than there normally are. Because you've got an infection, you've got bacteria in there, you've got all your phagocytes, your mast cells, all your type of immune cells there that are battling these bacteria. Yeah, you've got a war going on. That's why it's red and irritated. Okay. Characteristics of inflammation there: redness, heat, swelling, pain. You know what I mean? You guys can have a look at these there. They're all good to go. Healing of a deep wound there. Here we're talking about the response to a deep injury, extending into the dermis or subcu layer, formation of a blood clot. Okay, blood clot and dried tissue there, they will form a scab. You know, in our blood there, we have red blood cells, we have white blood cells, we also have platelets in there as well. These guys here, when you do get a cut, these platelets jump on, one on top of each other, and eventually there, with the use of fibrinogen, these spider web protein substances there, they end up plugging that hole. You'll also get phagocytic cells there that'll go in there and clean up dead cells, bacterial cells, these kinds of things. The damaged tissue is replaced and the scab sloughs off. Okay. Here's just a little diagram of what's got, you know, the whole idea there. There's your wound, you know, you got cut while you were cutting onions. Okay. Then you'll see the white blood cells start to migrate there. Okay, neutrophils are generally the first on the scene, but we'll get there when we get to the immune system. And there's your macrophages, fibroblasts, white blood cells there. There's more of them there. And, you know, by this point in time, there's a bit of a blood clot. You know, it's not bleeding anymore. Okay, and you'll see there the regrowth begins to happen. And then eventually we're into just a scab formation. Okay. And depending upon the nature of the cut itself, there may be a scar, there may not be. It all depends on those Langer lines, right? Perfect. The last slide, you can give a woohoo. All ages here when we're talking about skincare. You have to take care of your skin. Moisturize your hands. You should take care of your skin all the time. Be very, very wary of the amount of exposure there to the sun. The UV radiation, you need about 20 minutes of sunlight a day, though, to get your vitamin D. Okay? You really can't absorb calcium. The whole idea of calcium being used there for bones, teeth, and all these different things there. You can't really absorb calcium without vitamin D. So you need that vitamin D, but you only need about 20 minutes in the sun. Any more, you're looking at trouble. Okay, both the sun and tanning beds expose people there to these this UV radiation. Just please take care. Take care of your skin. It's just as important as the cardiovascular system and the nervous system. You can't survive without it. Okay. Thank you guys for sticking around for this. It hasn't been that bad. An hour and 37 minutes. We're doing okay. Your assignment one will go out there, I don't know, tonight or tomorrow. I'm just fine-tuning it right there. And it's a fun one. Work on it together. Work on it alone. This is where you guys are going. Medical terminology, we'll get that out to you there this week, and you'll have about 5 weeks or so, I think, in and around to complete. And that'll be due up to Blackboard later on. And what I'll do is I'll post a paper copy of it so you can download the paper copy and work on it away. And then towards the week 8, when it becomes due, what I'll do is I'll post an e-version of it there onto Blackboard so you can enter in all your answers and away you go. Okay. I'm just going to check here. Do we have any questions? What have we got here now? And actually here I'll stop sharing. And do we have any questions there? Can you repeat the names of the glands that you have a duct and the ones there that don't? Okay, so remember there that endocrine glands, they do not have a duct. Those are our hormone makers. Okay, exocrine glands, they have a duct. Pancreas is an exocrine gland. Pancreas is also an endocrine gland. Sorry, bad example. But anyway, I hope you guys have a great day. I'll post a video there now to Blackboard so you guys can watch it as many times as you want. you did awesome on your quiz 1. Now, quiz 1, that was the easiest. That was the most student-friendly test that you will see. Okay. Quiz 2 will probably look the same because I don't want to give you guys a smackdown. But after reading week there, the quizzes will get a little bit more confined as far as time goes, and these ones here. But by that point in time, you guys will be old hat, and we take it easy on the first 7 weeks, and then we'll ratchet it up a little bit there on the next 7. But thank you so much. Have a wonderful day. If you guys have any questions, stick around. But I'm gonna stop recording. Thank you guys. Take care. Have a wonderful day. Bye.